Welcome to the Wealthy Practitioner Podcast. I'm Dr. Nikki Cottis.
I'm Dr. Alejandro Elias.
And I'm Dr. Gabrielle Manto. Together, we help wellness practitioners build profitable, scalable businesses without sacrificing their health, their families, or their freedom.
On this podcast, we'll talk profit, leadership, and ownership, so your business works for you, not the other way around.
This is the Wealthy Practitioner Podcast. What is going on? It's so good to be back with you guys on another week. I want to start with a story. A rocket can have the most powerful engine ever created. Just picture that. We're, with Elon Musk, he's about to launch one of the rockets, the best rocket in the world. But that rocket doesn't have a navigation system. Without that, it can fly super fast, but it's going to go in the wrong direction. But now picture, it has the best of the best navigation system created by the one and only Elon Musk. The rocket is going to go to the moon. But what happens? This rocket doesn't have enough power. So what is going to happen? It's going to stay on the ground. This is exactly what happened with many businesses, especially when we try to do it by ourselves. Some of us are the visionary. We are the navigating system. And some of us are the integrators, that we are basically the fuel for that rocket. So the rocket needs the fuel, needs the power, and also needs the navigating system. Without both of them, it cannot fly. The same thing happens in business when we try to do it by ourselves. I want you guys to think about this. All of you guys know about Walt Disney. All of you guys, you have taken your kids, or you went there as a kid, or at least you have heard about it. But what a lot of people don't know, only a few people know about it, it's about Roy Disney. Walt was the dreamer. He could see the characters, he could see the movies, he could see the theme parks, he could see the experience. But it didn't exist yet. He had the imagination of creating Disneyland, when many people thought that, hey, that's not going to happen. That's so unrealistic. Can you relate with that? Whenever you say, like, I want to open a clinic, I want to open a business, and your family members are like, yeah, keep dreaming, just get a 9 to 5. Oh, yeah, you're going to do it, yeah. But they don't actually believe it. They say just that it's unrealistic. So in this situation, Roy was different. Roy focused on the money, the structure, the agreements, and the execution required to keep Walt's ideas alive, to keep him on track. Walt could create the vision, while Roy was figuring it out, how to fund it, how to organize it, and turn it into something real. So basically, Walt brought the big picture, and Roy was like the architecture. Let's put this together in order to make it sense, make it feel like true. Walt saw the castle before the land was even purchased. But Roy made sure they could afford to build the castle on the land. Their relationship was not powerful. It was not powerful at all, because they thought the same way. Okay, their relationship was powerful because they thought completely different. That's why it was powerful. It was not powerful because they were agreeing with each other. It was powerful because they had a lot of differentiation between their thoughts, and they were challenging each other. But they respected each other's ideas and each other's execution. That's why they got to the next level. Walt was the visionary, while Roy was the integrator. A lot of you guys have heard about visionary and integrator. Sometimes we think that we're a visionary. Sometimes we think we're an integrator. Sometimes we have the crazy idea that we think we're both. Well, that cannot happen. You have to be either one or the other. So without Walt, there may not have been a dream big enough to create a Disney. Without Roy, the dream, may have just remained a dream, an idea. It was never going to be a reality. And most of us would never visit the castle if Roy was not there. After Walt passed away, Roy delayed his retirement. He was about to completely retire when Walt passed away, and he delayed it. He also made sure that the project that Walt had in his imagination became a reality. The important part of this is that most people remember the person who dreamed about the big castle, but very few people remember the person who actually made the castle, who actually built it and put everything into existence. And again, that is the example, the power of having the fuel and having the navigation system. So think about that. In your business, do you have just the navigation or do you have the power? In order to have both, you need a right hand that is going to be different than you. Same thing happened with McDonald's. I don't know the name exactly, but the integrator of McDonald's started as a chef. I don't know if you call that a chef, but he was making the burgers. And years later, he just kept getting promoted. And he actually wrote the playbook for the burgers and the franchise. And he became this guy that no one knows about it. But without him, there wasn't going to be McDonald's. McDonald's would stay in one location. He was the one that helped McDonald's become the powerful franchise that there are right now. So some qualities of the visionary that I just want you, if you're taking notes, take notes here, is that the visionary sees the future before everyone else can see it. Just think about Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos. People think they're crazy. People think they're a-holes sometimes. But it's not that. They're just visionaries. If the integrator doesn't understand the visionary, they're going to think you're a bad human being. So that is the importance of understanding each other's role. The visionary creates new ideas every single day, sees everything as an opportunity, okay, loves partnerships, and he brings new directions every single day on the meetings. The visionary is usually strongest in relationship. They don't like being behind the computer. They love building relationships, cultures, sales, recruiting. Let's bring new strategies. We don't know how to implement the strategies, but we bring them to the table. The visionary usually asks, what could become possible if the company thinks bigger? While the integrator wants to slow down, the visionary is just pressing that pedal and let's move forward. The visionary is willing to take a lot of risk before everyone else. Okay, before having an answer available, the visionary is just thinking about what's next. Let's take the risk. Let's go for it. We don't have the money. Let's still do it. The visionary can also create too many ideas. And that could be a problem for the integrator. So that's when the integrator needs to challenge the ideas of the visionary. The visionary may become super frustrated with the details, meetings, I call myself there, and just accountability as well. We just want to keep moving. We don't want anyone to slow us down. But the visionary's greatest strength can become the company's greatest distraction when every idea becomes a priority. So just think about that. You always have new ideas. You're distracting your team. They don't know what to focus on. And that could be the biggest checkmate of your business. That's why a lot of owners call themselves a visionary. And now we're going to talk about the importance of having an integrator, because the integrator is a key part. The integrator turns idea into priorities, systems, accountability, measurable results. That is Nikki. Nikki Cottis, if you know her, she is a true integrator. She is not a visionary. She's a true integrator, and she's going to put systems to everything. She's going to create SOPs for everything. The integrator creates clarity when the visionary introduces multiple opportunities at the same time. It's like, whoa, can you break this down? Can you tell me more about this? But what about if this happens? So it's slowing down the visionary, landing the plane, calm down. Let's make sure that we can put the dots together. The integrator connects marketing, sales, operation, finances, and leadership all together. So the integrator keeps the communication between every single department. You run a clinic, you probably don't have a lot of departments. But if you have multiple clinics, you know there are a lot of different departments. And those departments don't talk often. So the integrator is the one that connects the dots in order for every department to be on the same page. The integrator makes sure every priority has an owner and a deadline. And it's going to make sure that there's a system to measure that as well. And most of the time, the integrator is using a level 10 meeting based on the EOS concept. The integrator also identifies obstacles that are slowing down execution. So you could call the integrator like a speed bump on the way, but without an integrator, nothing's going to happen. The integrator can become also too focused on protecting the operations that are in place right now, and that could slow you down as well. That's why the relationship of the visionary and integrator has to be basically like a marriage. It has to be best friends, and they need to communicate often, and they have to have constructive communication, and they have to be candid with each other. It cannot be like, hey, what about this? But, they need to be honest with each other in order to get the things done. Without a visionary, there's not an integrator, and without an integrator, there's not a visionary. So they need to work by side. Okay? Why do they need each other? The visionary is always going to create possibility, while the integrator creates things that are repeatable. They can repeat. We can reproduce it. We can scale with this. The integrator, without the visionary, creates stability without enough growth. So basically, if you have an integrator by itself, there's not going to be growth. It's just going to be steady. The goal is not for both leaders to think the same way. We started with that point. The goal is for both leaders to trust each other enough to stay in their lane, to play to their strength. I call it like a hula hoop. Think about a hula hoop. It's a circle. You're in your circle. I'm in my own hula hoop. I'm in my own circle. You cannot jump from your circle to my circle. Just stay in your circle, okay? And that is exactly why most of the time an integrator becomes a COO. And that is key on it. You can have a COO be a visionary. When we started, thankfully, Emily is an integrator. I'm a big visionary. And Emily kept me on track, and she kept me on track, and she kept me on track. And thanks to that, we have 5, 6 clinics now, opening 2 more. But it was thanks to her putting the brakes when she had to put the brakes. Okay? Because the visionary may open the door, but the integrator makes sure the business can walk through that door, and not just walk through it, but crush the door successfully. Okay? So the questions I have for you is, are you truly a visionary? Or are you using the title to avoid the accountability of an integrator? Does your clinic need another idea? Or does it need someone to execute the ideas you already have? Are you allowing your integrator, if you have one, to lead? Or are you still controlling every decision if you're a visionary? And I'll leave you with this one. Does your team know which priority matters most right now, as in today, on the moment? That is something you need to ask your team. And I want to hold you accountable on this. There's a test online. If you search around rocket fuel, there's a test that you could get. And if you get 80% on each test, that means you're a visionary or an integrator. So I invite you to take it. Your team should take it. That way you know who's your integrator, who's your visionary. You want your team to have a lot of integrators to put things into action if you're a big visionary. Like for me, I'm a big visionary. I have to be around integrators. All of my friends are visionaries. We love sharing ideas. But in my business, I like to have integrators to put things into action. Like right now, we're opening 2 clinics. We've never opened 2 at the same time, literally same month. So now Emily is the one controlling. Emily and the COO are controlling that. I always bring new ideas. Every single day, I wake up with new ideas for this business. And they're the ones that control everything. They're like, hey, you need to slow down. So now I have our COO reading rocket fuel. And now she tells me, like, I understand you. You're not an a-hole, but now I understand why we disagree so much. So I wish I would have given her that book way earlier, but it's never too late. Now she's reading it, she's understanding me better, and the business is going to scale better. So I invite you to read that book, Rocket Fuel. This is super interesting. You're going to take a lot of notes on it and your jaw might drop because there's a lot of nuggets out there. And if you're an integrator and you're working for a visionary, make them read the book as well. Because sometimes a visionary might be too visionary and it might go left while the business has to go right. Well, I'll see you guys next week. Have a lovely week and I can't wait to see you again.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Wealthy Practitioner Podcast. If you want to connect with other practitioners just like you, be sure to join our Facebook group at The Wealthy Practitioner and be sure to follow us on Instagram. See you next week.